Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So I'm a little bit behind on my magazine video. So this issue of Simply Cards and Papercraft came out, I think it was last week. This is issue 222. The free gift we get with this is called Festive Foliage, and you've got 3 dies in here. You've got a border die, which is just filled with different bits of foliage. So you could cut that out as a background, you could cut into it, lots of things you can do with that. We've got then Noel, so this is individual letters that we can use. So this is good that they're separate. It means then you can do them horizontally, or you could then do a card where they are laid vertically as well. That's up to you. And then we've got another die here. These are all connected, so you're not going to lose any of these little pieces, and they can be used to kind of fill out your border there. So let's take a look in the magazine itself. So the first bit we've got, this is called the First Noel. So we have got our cards in here, so you can see lots of different ways that you can actually use these dies. So, you know, we're sort of layering up, so you can see that's going to create a really nice background for your Noel there. But we've got how to make a stamped background using your dies. So I've done that a few times, where you take your dies and then you can turn it into a stamp. So there's some picture instructions there for you. We have got some slimline cards, so again, where you can use it in a different orientation, and that's the great thing about having the letters as separate actual dies there. We've got, you know, creating a really lovely background, lots of colours. We've got create a show-stopping festive card using your set, and again then you just got some pictures in here to help you along. So we have got some heat embossing in there, so you know, just really kind of using bits and pieces. You don't have to use all of it, it's just picking out the bits that you want. So let's have a look at what's going to be included in the next issue of Simply Cards and Papercraft. So in issue 223 of Simply Cards and Papercraft, so we have got a Scenic Christmas. So this is a bumper, stamp and stencil set. We get a 6x6 inch stencil and 25 coordinating stamps. So the stencil, it looks like we can create a sort of like a snow globe, or you know, and create a scene in there. So you could blend a background and then stamp your images on top, and then you've got other bits that you can kind of decorate around that. So that's going to be pretty cool, so we can create some really fun scenes in there. So that was a look at the magazine. So now let's get into creating our card using this Festive Foliage die set. So my card today, I wanted to use some products that I haven't used in a little while, and I'm gonna bring out my Nuvo Shimmer Powders. So I was really kind of obsessed with these when I first got them, but yeah, I haven't used them for a little while. So I thought we'd have a go at using them today. So we've got Golden Sparkler and Catherine Wheel. I'm gonna try and kind of mix them together, hopefully to make a bit of a Christmas kind of colour there. The card size we're going to be creating, so this is meant to be a 4x6 inch card, but I think this is one of those pre-made ones that just wasn't really the right size, so I did trim this down. So this is actually 5 3/4 by 4 inch, and we're going to make then just a landscape top folding card. So we're going to make 2 of those. I've already done a little bit of prep work, so because we're going to be using our Nuvo Shimmer Powder, I have cut some pieces of watercolour cardstock down already. So this was just some scraps that I had, and it was kind of lucky really that I didn't have to cut into a new piece. And then we're gonna matte and layer that with some gold mirror card as well, so just to kind of really get that Christmas sparkle, and that's going to fit in nicely then with our Golden Sparkler Nuvo. We're going to start off creating our background. So I've got my splat tray, so this is just a plastic tray. I've popped a little bit of kitchen paper in there just to kind of help absorb this up. So I've got one of my pieces of the watercolour card. So what I'm going to be doing is die cutting this piece from some white cardstock afterwards, and using that. So I'm really just creating a background here. So I want to kind of aim this in the middle, and I want it to look like it's kind of coming out a little bit. So we're just going to really sort of see what happens. So I'm going to take some of our Catherine Wheel to begin with, and I'm just going to concentrate that kind of in the middle of that portion. I've then got my Ranger Mister here, and on hand I've got my drying tool as well. So I just want to kind of spritz this in sort of directions, and then I'm going to dry it off. how that's looking, but I think it ended up being a little bit blocky. So what I think I might do is kind of abandon the first idea I had in my head, and I think I'm just gonna cover then these edges. So I'm gonna bring in just a little more. So there's our background. So on camera it looks a little less like it's covered. It does look a lot more blotchy, but really in real life it is quite beautiful. You have got these kind of darker sections where it's picking up the individual bits from both of the Nuvo Shimmer Powders, but I think that just looks really, really beautiful. So now let's just go ahead and create our second panel. So there's then our two backgrounds. So again, you can't really kind of pick up the great coverage on camera here, but it is really, really beautiful. You've got kind of those colours mixing together, and it's just something a little bit different for a background. So I'm just going to pop those to one side for the moment. I've got just some scrap white cardstock here, and we can then cut our background from this. So I'm just going to hold that in place with a piece of washi tape. Then I'm going to bring in my Gemini Mini here. Just to die cut that, pull that out. So this is just going to be a backing for your Noel, and then you can just pop out all of the sort of extra little pieces there. So there's our two background pieces, and the reason I've cut them in white is that's just going to help them stand out against our background. Then once we do die cut our Noel letters, they're just going to sit on there. So I want to have that as a white border. So let's just pop those to one side, and now we can focus on die cutting our letters. But what I want for this is to do some heat embossing, just to again help it stand out, make it a little bit more Christmassy. So I haven't been through the prize that I got for Sentimentally Yours, but I do have a bunch of embossing powders in here. So this is their Twinkling Embossing Powder in Cosmic Gold. So I haven't used this yet. I'm not sure what it's gonna actually be like, whether it's just gonna be gold embossing powder with glitter is what I'm guessing. But what I want to do is I'm just going to bring these scrap pieces back, and I'm just going to die cut this whole section because I'll be able to die cut each letter from each of these panels, and then so obviously I have my letters for each card. So I'm just going to heat emboss these first rather than then doing the letters afterwards. So I heat set these, and I probably should have tested this before I started making this video. So this is clear embossing ink with then gold glitter in it, because I don't know if you're going to be able to pick it up on camera. It's super beautiful, but it's still showing that white card underneath, and I really wanted to have something more kind of gold, more vibrant. So I'm not going to use these. I am going to keep them, and I'm certainly going to keep them at least one as a reference, so I know now what it looks like. So it is beautiful, it is really glittery, but because you can still see that white underneath, it's not going to be what I want for this project. So what I have done is just gone back to my good old favourite. This is the Paper Mania Gold Embossing Powder, and I just took a scrap piece of cardstock and just did the exact same thing, did my ink pad, and then just poured on that embossing powder. So now we can go ahead and die cut our Noel from this. So if you wanted to do a little bit of prep work, what you could do is do almost like a whole sheet of A4 paper like this, so heat emboss the entire thing, and then you could just keep that, so it saves you then having to heat emboss every single time. You could just die cut your letters. So now we have our beautiful heat embossed letters with a lot less fuss, because we embossed the cardstock rather than trying to add it on top of those letters. So now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and die cut a second set. So there we have our letters. So let's bring back in our backing pieces. So I'm going to use my reverse tweezers for this. We're just going to use some liquid glue here. And then we can just pop that into that gap. So it's really easy to kind of put these together because it's sort of showing you where it needs to go. Okay, so now we have all of our elements, we can actually bring our card together. So let's add our background panel to our mirror card there. Now, because of all the glitter on here and everything that is in our Nuvo powder, I'm just going to use a paper towel just to kind of flatten that down for us. Okay, so I've got both of my panels onto my gold mirror card. Now what I'm going to do is add just a little bit of dimension onto these pieces. So let's just add a little bit of foam tape into the middle there, and then we can do the same with this one. And then I'm just going to add some glue to the back of these panels, and we can then get them stuck onto our card bases. So there we have it now on our card base. So it's quite a simple card. You do have that detailing then from that background piece, but it's really all about that sparkle and just about creating a kind of interesting background. But it's a really card then to mass produce if you're making all of your Christmas cards just like this. So just to finish this off, of course, we're going to add some Nuvo drops. I'm going to bring in some clear because I don't want to use any more kind of gold on this, and I think then with that background it's going to sit really nicely underneath our clear Nuvo drops. So we're just going to do a few just around. Try to get some sort of, I tried to do some different sized ones just to make things a little bit more interesting, but they can just kind of sit in and around. If you do get any sort of mucky fingerprints on there, you can use things like embellishments to then sort of help cover those sections. So that is going to be our finished card for today. So this was using Simply Cards and Papercraft issue 222, and this was Festive Foliage. If you did like this card, then please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So that's going to be it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.